We are coming to you live from $1 Million Studios. Your boys, Chris Speez,
a.k.a. the human jar of mayonnaise.
And the benchmark of professional wrestling, Mr. Silky Baines.
That would make me Nutella.
Speez and the Benchmark Show on a Thursday night, October 25th, 2018. We thank you so much for being with us. All of you joining us on Periscope or over on the YouTubes. We hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button as you listen to the program. Or those of you listening to us after the fact on the podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, anywhere you can hear your favorite podcast. You can check out the Speez and the Benchmark Show. Don't forget about that tip jar, tinyurl.com/SB tip jar. Shout out to Juanito and Mr. Politics, who last week decided to drop some coinage into the tip jar. We appreciate that, gentlemen, both of you. And thanks to all of you dropping super hearts already. Johnny with a bunch of Y's. Thank you, sir. Getting dangerously close to becoming super broadcasters on Periscope, so we're very grateful for that. And of course,
Babaruski's in.
If you want to get in on the discussion, you can do so on the phone lines. 832-937-4559 is the phone number.
Or that's 832-93-SILKY.
832-93-SILKY. So, plenty to go through today, Mr. Baines. It is Mama Speez's birthday today.
Oh, it is.
Not Mama Speez, my wife, Mama Speez. Mama Speez.
Your mom.
Some people call, the wife Mama and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean.
My actual mother.
Yeah.
So, happy birthday, Mom. I know you're not watching the program, but on the off chance that you are, happy birthday to you. And, yeah, man, it's.
That's pretty cool.
It sucks when your birthday falls on a Thursday.
It does.
Why can't it just be on a Friday and everything be good? But, so it goes. Anything new with you, sir, before we get started on everything that we got to get started on? Because we got lots to talk about today. It was a crazy day.
Sporting my sweet Gorillas of Destiny shirt.
That is a very sweet shirt. I like that very much. Sorry, just going to adjust the brightness here on ye old screen, and then we will continue.
You were ungodly white.
It doesn't have anything to do with that, but thank you.
Yeah, sure.
So, of course, the big news of the day, the announcement from WWE that Crown Jewel will, in fact, go on as scheduled in Saudi Arabia. So, a lot of discussion about this online, a lot of discussion about this on the Twitters, just about everywhere. Some very passionate people who are either very upset or don't really give a shit one way or another. So, be interested to hear you guys' takes on it. Silky, what was your thought once you heard the official word? Because we keep, of course, we've heard a lot of, I'm hearing from my sources that this might happen. This source says this and so on and so forth. And everybody just says, look, at least I say, wait for the fucking WWE. They'll tell us soon enough. And they did. Yeah. So your thoughts on the Crown Jewel staying put where it is?
I mean, I get it. From a business standpoint, there's contracts in play. There's a lot of money that they're getting paid to do this show. And so if they have to do it, they have to do it. I mean, do I think that they should have done it? I mean, yeah, no. But, I mean, it's easy for me to say no because I'm not in that situation being offered that much money to put on this show. So
exactly. Which is what a lot of people online were saying. And I was one of those people as well. My initial reaction once, and if you are interested in hearing more of our takes on the whole Saudi situation, I guess you could call it. We talked about it on I think it was 2 weeks ago now when we first started to talk about the subject. My immediate thought was, if it does turn out that they, in fact, being the Saudis or whoever it was, the Saudis were in some way either knowledgeable or responsible for this reporter being killed, then WWE should strongly consider canceling the show. Now, and I stand by that. I think they should have strongly considered canceling the show. I still think it's a bad decision. I don't like the decision. My take on it is this. I'm not going to be upset that they decided to do what they did. Yeah. And just to get everything on the up and up and make sure that we're giving you exactly what's going on here, we're going to go to the actual quote because the news came from the third quarter reportings from WWE. Of course, publicly traded companies have to report every quarter to the Securities and Exchange Commission, and they do a live phone call where everybody, stockholders, anybody else can call in. So this was the official quote from the WWE third quarter report on what was going on with Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia. Quote, WWE has operated in the Middle East for nearly 20 years and has developed a sizable and dedicated fan base. Considering the heinous crime committed at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, the company faced a very difficult decision as it relates to its event scheduled for November 2nd in Riyadh. It went on, similar to other U.S.-based companies who plan to continue operations in Saudi Arabia, the company, that being WWE, has decided to uphold its contractual obligations to the General Sports Authority and stage the event. Full year 2018 guidance is predicated on the staging of the Riyadh event as scheduled, close quote. And if you're wondering about the full year 2018 guidance, that's basically all of the projections that were in that particular filing as to what can be expected, income, profits, losses, and so on and so forth. So that was their official word. Now, I also read online that when Vince was asked specifically about it, he said that it was a very sensitive topic that he didn't want to talk about.
Which, I mean, yeah, I can totally understand that.
Now, there were people that were ripping him and saying, oh, well, no shit, it's a sensitive topic, Vince, and that's why you should talk about it, because it is a sensitive topic. Here was my take on that. Remember we talked about this on our Monday show, which thank you very much, guys. This is one of our most viewed shows that we've done so far. So for all of you who tuned in for that one and shared it, thank you all for that. On the Monday show, we said we weren't going to go back and retroactively punish people for, and thank you, Anthony, for Get the Tables for the Super Hearts there. Thank you very much. And Juanito, as always, dropping Super Hearts on us. Thank you, sir. We weren't going to go back and retroactively rip people for talking shit about Roman Reigns, except for those who were trying to legitimately screw the guy's career over. When, in the same vein, when WWE signed this 10-year deal with Saudi Arabia, there was no murder that had happened. There was no...
I mean, there was murders that happened there, but...
There were... This particular scenario hadn't reared its ugly head
the only
yet.
reason this is even issue is because of the fact that this guy was living here. If this was just a regular... Because, like they say, they make it clear that this guy was not a U.S. citizen. He was just happened to be living here, working here.
Right.
So, if this guy was over somewhere else and this happened, it wouldn't even be on the news, or it wouldn't even be on our radar, honestly.
It might be, and it might not be. I mean, it's certainly not going to be to the extent that it is now. And I put out a tweet earlier, and I stand by this. If you're going to be outraged about the WWE continuing on with this show, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with people being upset with it. I don't have a problem with people saying they're going to cancel their network, so on and so forth. That's great.
I have a problem with those people.
Here's where I come out on it. It's the selective outrage that bothers me. It's the singling out of WWE and saying, I'm going to be pissed at you guys for this event, but I'm going to ignore shit like the examples I gave were fucking Nike. I wear Nikes all the time.
Yeah.
Being willfully ignorant, or in my case, willfully, knowledgeable of the fact that they've done some pretty heinous shit in the past in terms of child labor. Just last year, they refused to let an independent organization come in and check the work conditions of their overseas factories because
they were in a sweatshop.
You can only guess about the kind of shit that was going on there.
Sweatshops get a bad rep.
Stop it.
I'm just saying, they provide gainful employment.
Stop it. But no, even then, and to continue that thought.
I thought you were going to go a Kaepernick route.
No, and that's what somebody on Twitter said. I said, you might as well burn your Nikes while you're at it. And somebody said, oh, you're comparing somebody getting killed to somebody kneeling for the anthem. That's fucking stupid. No, I'm not. It doesn't have anything to do with the anthem. It's terrible work conditions. You want to talk about blacklisting reporters? Fucking Microsoft did that to a guy several years ago. You can go back and read about it. Just search Microsoft blacklist. We used to use a Mac on this program. People tweeting from their iPhones about how horrified they are. Yeah, you know how many people have gotten into serious health problems because of the chemicals that they use to clean iPad and iPhone screens overseas, and they're not well-ventilated warehouses that they're working in? Nobody gives a shit about that. Nobody's saying, oh, I'm not going to buy Apple anymore. Somebody is out there.
Yeah.
My point is this. If you want to be outraged, but don't be hypocritical about it. don't be selectively outraged. Don't pick one thing and say, oh, this is bullshit. This shouldn't be happening. We as citizens should stand up against companies that do that. Fine, you want to do that? You stand up against all of them.
Yeah.
And don't pick and choose who you want to be pissed off about.
But that's the climate of America. That's what people do here. No, I mean, great country, but let's not be blind to the fact that there is a whole bunch of hypocrisy that runs rampant here.
Yeah, that's true. And this is a prime example of it, in my opinion. And that's not a popular take on Twitter because a lot of people got pissy about it.
Those people, and the reason I have issue with the people like, I'm canceling my network subscription. No, the fuck you're not. Because if you cancel that, you'll have nothing to watch and bitch about in your sad, pathetic little lives than, you know, this one event. Now, I'm totally, if you feel that strongly about it and you're like, well, you know what, I just won't watch this event because, like the guy from Rhode Island that called in Monday, he's like, he's not watching the event. Said nothing about canceling his subscription. It's just he does not want to watch that event. I'm totally down for that. That's a reasonable thing. But it's you know how many times people have said they're going to cancel their network subscription, and guess what? It doesn't do anything because they're still going to watch it because they're going to realize, well, I can't watch half this shit and I don't want to pay. Does WWE still do pay-per-views now?
No, it's all on the network.
It's all on the network. Yeah, so there's going to be something they want to see and they're going to pop that money. So let's just be real, and it is a problem, but it's
we're not saying that it's not.
Yeah, we're not saying that it's not a problem what happened over there or what, you know.
It's absolutely disgusting and heinous, exactly as WWE said it was. I mean,
but at the same token, like I said, there's contracts in play. There's legal and monetary ramifications if they pull out the show. You people, not our fans, because our fans are smarter than that, but the rest of the idiots out there, they sit there like they've run a multi-million-dollar company and that it's okay. They're cool with, they just think, just blanket, they're rich, they can afford. No, you don't stay rich by losing fucking money like that.
Especially not a half a billion with a B dollars as far as this goes. We're going to lighten the mood a little bit because we have our no longer Roman Reigns correspondent. Because
she's still a Roman Reigns correspondent.
She's still our Roman Reigns correspondent, but she actually asked if she could now be the Seth Rollins correspondent because of the injury to Roman Reigns. But she's probably got something to say here about the situation anyway. Sasha Reigns joins us here on the Speez and the Benchmark Show. What's going on, Sasha? How are you?
I'm good.
So I have to ask, what was your, well, let's get to the reason that you called first. Go right ahead, and then I'll ask the question I was going to ask you.
It was about evolution.
Go for it. What's up?
I think that Sasha's going to win with her team against the Riot Squad.
I would not be surprised if someone who refers to herself as Sasha Reigns would believe that Sasha is going to win her particular match.
I see a lot of people predicting Riot Squad winning that.
Could be.
I tend to agree.
Could be. Now, Sasha, I want to tell you what, I hope you don't mind me sharing, but you actually sent me a message on Monday, you know, saying, sorry, I didn't call into the program tonight, but you were very upset about the news from Roman Reigns that he has leukemia. Am I right?
Yes, I was.
How are you feeling now, having had a couple of days to ingest the information and see how Roman and everyone else is reacting? Are you feeling a little bit better?
Yes, because Angel said that cancer is SAWFG.
Soft.
That's true. That's true. And he's in great spirits about it. You got to tip your hat to him. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on. But
because I have something I want to say about that.
Absolutely. Issue. Well, we'll get to that in a bit as well. And Sasha, what's your take on Crown Jewel? Are you going to be watching their show? What do you think about them staying in Saudi Arabia?
I'm going to be watching it because I like to see Braun win the Universal title.
She wants to see Braun win the Universal title. All right, then. Well, Sasha, we will keep you in mind going forward on all news Seth Rollins related, and of course, if we hear anything else from Roman. So, thank you for calling and checking in with us.
Some news about Seth.
Okay, give us your Seth Rollins news.
They're going to split up like the tag titles by Seth and somebody by having it.
Well, we'll see what happens. That's going to be an interesting one for sure, because now that those two guys actually have the titles and they're not getting along, then, it's going to be interesting
Dropping
to
one
see.
on his head tends to do that.
Yes, indeed. Sasha, thank you for the call. We're going to move along here with our conversation, so thank you so much for chiming in. If you want to get in on the conversation yourself, you can give us a call, 832-937-4559.
That's 832-93-SILKY.
832-93-SILKY. Thanks to all of you joining us here on Periscope and sharing the program. We appreciate you doing that. Hello to Juanito and David over on YouTube's, checking in on the chat room there. And don't be shy, guys. Feel free to chime in as you would like to. So, now that we know we are going forward with the show in Saudi Arabia, the next topic that everyone seemed to want to talk about was the seeming and as of yet unconfirmed report that certain guys, namely John Cena and Daniel Bryan, had expressed a great deal of hesitancy to go over to Saudi Arabia after what happened. What's your take on that? I wouldn't be surprised if this was the case. Now, again, I say this because we are not in the business of projecting and trying to guess what people are going to do. I mean, we do to a certain extent, all in good fun. But the fact of the matter is, WWE has released very minor comments about this, that they'll handle each individual situation individually and so on and so forth. So we'll see what happens there. But it wouldn't surprise me if certain people were a little bit hesitant about going over there. How do you think WWE reacts to guys like Cena and Daniel Bryan not wanting to go, if in fact they don't want to go?
Well, I mean, with Cena, if he don't want to go, he don't have to go.
Just because he's John Cena.
Yeah, he's John fucking Cena. So that's the end of that. Daniel Bryan, I mean, he's up there with Cena, so he probably is one of the few people that has that kind of clout that will just say, I'm not going, and not lose his job. They'll move the match to a different show or whatever because, I mean, he's one thing, I mean, by talking to Daniel Bryan, he's a very passionate person in his stance.
Agreed.
So if he believes something, he's going to stick to it no matter what. So, I mean, I honestly, if they told him, if you don't go, you're fired, he'd just be like, fine, I'm not going, if he felt that passionately about it.
Shout out to you, Alter Audio, over there on YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, and I think, honestly, I could completely see WWE saying, you know what, if you don't want to go, you don't have to go.
Yeah.
Because I think enough guys are going to go that whatever changes they would have to make to the card would be minimal enough to where they could get away with not having to make major changes to the overall setup of the show as it currently stands.
Because Cena was just doing the tournament thing.
Yes.
But Bryan had the title match, but I can see, like I say, you can replace Cena, and you could just do the title match another time with Daniel Bryan, and maybe have, like I say, I think would be good if Daniel Bryan doesn't go, have the winner of the tournament face AJ later that night for the title. And then boom, problem solved.
Fair enough.
You can send me a check.
There you go.
At $1 Million Studios.
Looking at your comments here. Predictions for Sunday. We'll get to those shortly as well. It's going to be like Foley versus the Outlaws for the belts. AOP is going to destroy Seth Rollins. Maybe so. We shall see. Sami Zayn didn't go yet. Sami Zayn was one that had no interest in going to Saudi Arabia at all.
I thought that the story was they told them WWE not to bring him.
Could be. I didn't hear either way.
I could have sworn that's what I heard or read, that because of his Israeli descent, like he's not from Israel, but he has like the Israel flag on there. He's very proud of his heritage.
Right.
So they said, when these shows are bought, so the Prince decides who he wants to see wrestle, and that was one he made a point to say he did not want Sami Zayn coming over. That's when they did the bullshit angle of, he got hurt by Lashley from the vertical suplex.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why he can make the greatest Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I agree. What's up, Chris Surratt? Yeah, I agree. One of the guys in the chat room saying you can just move Daniel Bryan to Survivor Series. You can do Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles at Survivor Series if that's what you want to do. I mean, there's any number of scenarios that you can get with here. Let's get back to the phone lines. My boy David wants to chime in about the Shield. What's going on, David? How are you, sir?
Fine. How about you?
Doing very well. What's going on? What's on your mind?
So what's the point of bringing back the Shield when
Well, I know that Roman Reigns left because he had leukemia, and there was no way that they could have prepared for that.
Exactly.
So
are you asking what was the point of breaking up the Shield?
Or what was the point of bringing them back in the first place?
But the real reason why they brought them back was just to get the fans riled up. I feel like they're doing the exact same thing as what they did with Team Hell Now. Like, they brought them back for a short time, but then somebody got injured, and so they had to quit. I feel like it's just happening over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because it seems like just when things were starting to get interesting with the Shield.
Yeah.
I thought they were doing a very good job of sort of easing everyone into this whole what's Dean Ambrose going to do kind of thing. I think the way that they let that breathe and they didn't just dive right into it.
Yeah.
It was great. Yes, no effects. That is my son calling in. So shout out to you. And hello to Jody Mania, cancer survivor Jody Mania, who should give you all hope that Roman Reigns will be just fine because
shout out to Jeffrey Cross for dropping
Jody's
them
awesome.
Super Hearts.
Thank you, Jeffrey Cross. Now, I did hear word that they were, and again, this is sources, that the Ambrose heel turn was not necessarily going to happen right away. They were going to put it off a little ways until maybe even Survivor Series to wait to pull the trigger on that. But obviously, plans change when things like that happen. So, yeah, and merch is another one for sure. You definitely got merchandising to consider. David, let me ask you a question before we let you go, buddy. What do you think about what's going to happen with the tag team titles now that obviously Ambrose and Rollins are at odds and no Roman around to keep things in order? Where do you see things going from here?
I think they're going to do the exact same thing of what they did with the Universal title, that they're just going to vacate the titles and have a tournament to decide it.
It'll be interesting to see.
I'm okay with that. What I don't want is the stupid gimmick of Seth versus Dean. Winner gets control of the tag team titles and can like pick a partner, because it's been done in like WCW and TNA. You know, that's how that's how Pac-Man Jones became tag team champ in TNA.
Exactly.
So it never works.
Insane.
Yeah, it never
works. Or
worked.
they can give them straight to the Revival.
That would be okay with me too, and that's why I dig you calling in the show. Son.
Not gonna happen.
Thank you very much for your phone call, David. We appreciate it, sir.
Thank you for calling, holding it down.
Absolutely.
And Silky,
yeah,
make sure to leave Chris alone.
Yeah.
I guarantee nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, David. We appreciate the phone call, buddy, and always looking out for his old man. You gotta like that.
Emphasis on old.
That's
you tee me up. You can't tee me up. Expect me not to swing.
I know it. 832-937-4559.
832-93-SILKY.
The Shield scenario is going to be interesting. The other thing I hope they don't do is to put Seth and Dean into a match and just have Dean walk away and basically leave a scenario like No Effects fan was talking about, where it's just Seth fighting for himself and trying to, fend off two different guys at the same time. Let them have a match or just vacate the titles like you said.
I mean, I'd even prefer that, though, than I don't want to see them wrestle to see who gets control of the tag team titles. I don't want to see that. But I wouldn't mind, like, force Corbin being the heel, forcing them to defend the titles, knowing they have this problem. And, you could set it up any number of ways of where Seth, clowns them like he tends to do because it's Baron fucking Corbin. And he puts them in that match, and then Dean walks off. Seth gets his ass whooped. They get new tag team champions, and it builds more heat for Seth and Dean for the Intercontinental title. WWE, send me the check to $1 Million Studios.
Yeah, don't send a check to Jeffrey Cross talking about no revival, please. Come on. This is a top guy's opportunity to take their rightful place atop.
The fucked up thing is I totally see them putting the Revival and having Dean walk off and Seth beat the Revival
by himself, which would be some horse shit.
That.
God dang it. You watch, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm going to melt down on the show, and we're probably going to get the highest views we've ever gotten because it's just going to be me throwing a big fucking temper tantrum.
Yes, it would be great, though.
Yeah, I agree that vacating the titles doesn't add to the story, but the story at this point, it's kind of fucked. But, I like to think that they had something in mind when they decided to go forward with the heel turn right after they won the titles. Now, this is WWE, so you could say maybe they didn't.
I mean,
I like to think that they did.
I like to think that they would, because you could have easily done that heel turn after, say they came up a little short, and it wouldn't have been as powerful. So I think for this heel turn to be powerful, you needed that because you had the high of them winning after that emotional beginning of the show. And then so when Dean did what he did, it was shocking. Now, had they lost a match and then Dean turned, then it just looks like Dean was just pissed off because
just being pissy, yeah.
Because Seth lost the match. But so I think for this to work, for that Dean Ambrose heel turn to work, they needed to win the titles that night.
Yeah, I agree. It was the perfect time. I totally agree with that.
100% perfect. So tip of the hat to WWE booking if that was on purpose or even if that was audible. Tip of my hat.
Absolutely.
Good on you, sir.
Absolutely. And both Jeffrey Cross and Juanito seem to be in your camp as far as Baron Corbin stepping in and perhaps getting the titles on him.
No, I didn't say that. I said Corbin's a fucking joke.
Okay, well, somebody here said, I thought he said Corbin will be tagged. Oh, yeah, he just stated it. I thought they were agreeing with you. I could see AOP winning the titles. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Let's get back to the phone lines. We've been making our boy Chris here wait for a little while. Chris Surratt joining us here on the Speez and the Benchmark Show. What's going on, Chris? How are you?
Good. Yeah, I know it's pretty sad to say it, but I know it was Monday I was going to call, but I was busy. But about Roman Reigns, the leukemia thing, I think it was pretty sad about that. And I'm looking forward to the women's Evolution this Sunday to the pay-per-view.
Right on. Who in particular are you looking for? Is there any match that's got you excited about it? Because I've heard some people saying that it was a little underwhelming as far as the build to it goes and whatnot.
I'm looking forward to the Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch last woman standing match.
Yeah,
that should be an outstanding one for sure.
So let me pose this question to you, Chris. What do you think should main event Evolution?
That's a great question because that's been going around a lot.
Because I was talking to
what should main event Evolution should be. The SmackDown Women's Championship, Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch. And
that was my thought, but actually, if you went by just the quality of the match and the story that went behind it, that should. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be Alexa and Mickey versus Trish and Lita.
Really? Because I keep hearing that they're talking about Ronda and Nikki Bella.
And those. Again, that's another one that I thought about.
Just from the sheer mainstream appeal of it, those are names that outside of WWE, if you're not a fan, you're much more likely to know Nikki Bella and Ronda Rousey than anybody else on the card. So
yeah, that's true. But I would be a little upset if that was not because I just don't see there hasn't been enough build for that. I mean, they just turned on what, like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, exactly.
Versus this last woman standing has been brewing for months, and then you can't even underestimate the fact that you have two Hall of Famers coming back.
Oh yeah,
arguably the two best women in the '90s that wrestled, and two most popular. So, I would definitely see those. I would see that being the main event of the show.
I could see it.
In my opinion.
Chris, I know you're keeping an eye on the football as well. How are my Texans doing, buddy?
Yeah, it's a pretty good game. It's like 7-14 right now. The Texans are 14-7.
There you go.
So they're winning.
Yeah,
that's what I like to hear.
Go Texans.
We got to enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah, and one more thing. I'm looking forward to Lita and Trish Stratus too. So
I would agree.
Peace out, guys.
I would agree. Hey, thanks for the call, Chris. We really appreciate it, man. Always appreciate you chiming in. 832-937-4559.
You guys feel free to chime in and tell us what you think the main event of Evolution should be.
Let's talk about that a little bit because there's been a lot of complaining. Sorry, I turned away from the mic here so I could get Dr. Hughes' proper entrance there. Saw him pop in. Thank you for the Super Hearts. And shout out to you, Alistair Fiend. Thank you for the Super Hearts as well. You know what I dig about Alistair Fiend? He goes and watches the show on both YouTube and Periscope and bounces back and forth to get views on both. That's great.
That makes us look bad. Don't do that.
No, that's great. Becky versus Charlotte. No, that's great. I love it. Becky versus Charlotte's the best feud going in the WWE right now. And I don't have a problem with that. That's a bold statement, but honestly, I mean, what else are you going to put up there? I would have said Joe and AJ for a while, although that seems to have cooled and they seem to be moving on yet again. For whatever reason, Joe can't seem to keep a feud going.
Yeah, I don't think that was meant for him to win. I mean, as much as we wanted and how good they built it up, I think they knew, honestly, because we've had this talk about, possibly Miz and Bryan at Mania for the title. And coincidentally, now at Crown Jewel, Daniel Bryan is getting the match for the WWE title, which I don't think he's going to win. I think Miz causes him that. And somehow Miz is going to get that title before WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Miz is definitely in line for it. And I can't say I'd have a huge problem with it. I mean, he's one of those guys.
I feel like he's never been more ready. Like, the problem with The Miz was when he was WWE champ, he was so not ready for that. As far as he wasn't on that level. That's why no one took him seriously.
Yeah.
Now he's taken serious because, I mean, when you think about it, it sounds crazy to say, but Miz is probably going to be a Hall of Famer.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Won every title multiple times.
Yep.
He main evented WrestleMania.
And he's got the mainstream crossover appeal now that he's doing the show, so they love that.
All the movies that he's done. So I feel like right now is the time. They need to strike while the iron's hot with The Miz.
Somebody's saying Joe is hurt again. Did you hear anything about Samoa Joe being hurt?
No, I did not hear about Samoa Joe being hurt, but, I mean, it does not surprise me.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me either, which is unfortunate, but...
He's one of those that gets the bad, unfortunate, like, he gets hurt sometime, and it just seems like one after the other.
Yeah, and don't bother typing comments like the main event's going to be me versus a bottle of lotion, because we're not going to read that on the air. That you versus a bottle of lotion, Dr. Huge, would be the main event of Evolution. Not even going to read those comments because they're inappropriate and not funny.
Totally funny.
Really quickly before we move on, folks, got to give a shout out to our boy Travis Wallach at Prestige Properties, TravW777 at gmail.com. Of course, you can hit him up on the website as well. That's Prestige Properties TX1.com. I was going to fuck that up, but, Prestige Properties TX1.com. Commercial real estate, home real estate, residential real estate, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to buy. If you're here in Texas.
You know someone that's moving here in Texas, tell them to hit up our boy Travis.
Absolutely. Do it. I mean, look, 713-882-4609 is the phone number. Give them a call. They got I was looking on their website today. Holy shit, dude. You want to talk about some of the some of the places just right around us?
Yeah, that's like multi-million.
Yeah, multi-million-dollar spots. I mean, the real estate down here is insane.
I mean, we're going to be in the market for that pretty soon. And you know who we're going to call? Travis.
Trav at W777 at gmail.com. 713-882-4609. Prestige Properties, proud sponsors of the Speez and the Benchmark Show. So, back to Evolution. I like the Charlotte Becky build. I like what they're doing with the sort of keeping it kayfabe. We're going to have brawls at the Performance Center and all that other kind of stuff. Like, I like what they're doing with that. They're actually taking shit seriously for a change. And it works. And fans eat it up. They love it. They absolutely love it. So
are you sold now on the Becky heel turn? Because, you were very vocal about, I won't say very vocal like you're trumpeting it from the fucking rooftops, but you were saying that you thought Charlotte should be the heel in this.
I still think Becky looks uncomfortable as a heel. But I think that, look, the reason the feud doesn't work as well for me as I think it could is as much to do with Becky not being a dislikable heel as it does with Charlotte not being a sympathetic babyface.
And I think that is the nail. You hit the nail on the head, is that it's not really Becky. Like, Becky's doing everything a heel should do. But some of the interactions, the early interactions, especially with Charlotte, were very, like, she came off kind of like a bitch.
Yeah.
And so it almost makes you like, okay, like, I want you to lose. Like, I'm glad this happened to you. She should be playing this role sympathetic, This should crush her, in my opinion. Like, if I was to book this angle, like the same angle, the one thing I would get across to Charlotte is that this needs to crush you because this is like your best friend. You know what I mean?
That's exactly right.
So, everyone has had a best friend. And just think about if your best friend stabbed you in the back. Something very heinous and go with that emotion. You know what I mean? If she would do that, or even, it's never too late to start. I mean, it seems like, though, this is kind of wrapping up because, I mean, Last Woman Standing is kind of like a blow-off type of match.
You would hope so.
I would think that they would go on to someone else eventually, possibly, you know, whoever, because, you know, they hand out title shots and shit like water there. So
Yes, they do.
I wouldn't be surprised if the winner of the Mae Young Finals gets a title shot.
At this point, anything could happen. Welcome to you, Mastermind. Glad to have you with us.
Speaking of that, well, not actually. It's the poor segue, but
poor segue.
Did you watch the first episode of NXT UK?
I did not. How was it?
It was actually really good. They had this Dave Mastiff, and what I liked about, I mean, big fucking guy, right?
Yeah.
He was in a squash match. He squashed the shit out the dude. But what I liked about, like, just his entrance is as the camera's following behind him, when he's stepping, it's shaking. And at first you're like, man, that's fucking terrible. And then it took
you
me
realize,
a second, like, yeah, it's like he's so big when he steps, everything
that's
shakes.
badass. I really like that.
I
really
love
like
that. They had the Bait and Seven come out, Mustache Mountain come out, cut a promo talking about there's no tag teams, so they want the best tag teams. So when they get UK tag titles, they want to face the best. But which I thought was weird because the very first match had the Coffee brothers, Mark and Joe Coffey.
Yep.
Big dudes, right? Matching gear. Guess what they look like? They're a fucking tag team, and yet they have one of them the wrestling in a singles match, and so it was, some of the booking there was a little questionable, but I mean the main event, Pete Dunne and Noam Dar, was great.
Oh,
I
I'm
mean,
sure it was. Yeah,
it's fucking brutal. He like bent his pinky back like that and then stepped on it. Really looked like he broke his shit.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. So I just wanted to throw that segue out there.
Yeah, I think NXT, and we got to get to NXT from last night. I want to touch on something real quickly that NoFX brought up in the chat room there. He says we are 83 days away from AJ Styles eclipsing the quote-unquote record that CM Punk had for
434 days.
Longest reign with the WWE Championship. Do you think he gets it?
At this point, I don't see why not. I mean, because I don't see him losing to Bryan, honestly. I feel like it'd be shotgun and you're blowing your wad to put the title. Because once you put the title on Bryan, no one wants to see the title come off of Bryan. So, as I've always subscribed to the philosophy of there's more money in the babyface chasing the title than him actually being champ.
Agreed.
So I would not, I mean, you might as well at this point. It makes no sense to get that close, and then unless he's dropping it to the Miz, because, and I'm a huge Miz fan, but it would add to that story of the Miz's ego.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
I stopped you from breaking the record.
I stopped you from getting the record. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, as far as, not to interrupt you, man, no effects in terms of my take on it. I don't put much stock in that record. I know a lot of people do. To me, the record's always going to be Bruno Sammartino. And it's nobody's going to touch that ever again, ever. So
that's why they always qualify it within the modern day. But here's the thing, is like, do you consider the Universal titles kind of on that same level, right?
As a WWE title?
Yeah.
Oh, I would say the way that they book it,
is above.
the folks within WWE look at it as being even
bigger,
more prestigious. Yeah.
Because then if that's the case, if they're still, because Brock technically held the title longer.
Did he finally break it? I know he was getting close.
Yeah,
I think he did, didn't he?
Yeah, he broke it, and
yeah,
it was
nobody's gonna want to give Brock credit for that.
Yeah, no one's gonna. I mean, because I was watching a video that broke it down. Brock's Universal title reign and Punk's WWE title reign, and the numbers are just crazy.
Oh yeah,
434 days. Brock 10 defenses. CM Punk 434 days as champ. 141 defenses of the title.
Yeah.
But another, I think right now Pete Dunne is the longest reigning champion, WWE champion.
Oh yeah, Pete Dunne's had that title forever.
Yeah.
He's had that title forever. Yeah, Miz has no problem with ego. Sure. Juanito thinks that AJ's been a great champion. What do you think of AJ as a champion?
The second time around, not that big of. I mean, I'm just not invested. It's not. I mean, he's fucking AJ Styles, so everything looks good. But like the stories they were giving him up until this Joe story, I just wasn't invested in who. I couldn't tell you who honestly he defended the title against before Joe.
And that's not so much.
And that's not a shot at
an
AJ.
indictment of AJ as it is. He just hasn't had a whole lot to work with. And yeah, no effects. You asked the question: is the Universal title going to be here in 10 to 20 years? Who knows? Who knows? Probably not.
I think it will.
Probably get to a point to where they decide to put the two shows back together again and just have the one title. So we can have the undisputed champion again who has both belts, because we always do that.
And then they'll separate them again.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they'll put them back together and separate them.
Because that's what we do. That's what we do. Let's get to this week's NXT, because one of the other big storylines of the week, for those of you who didn't know, is we finally found out who attacked Aleister Black.
And it was...
If you haven't watched yet, spoiler alert, hit mute, and I'll point at you when you can turn it back on. It was...
Johnny Gargano.
Okay, you can come back again.
That was stupid.
You didn't like it. You didn't like it.
I get, but Johnny was the fucking face. Like, you take that away, who do you have to really cheer for now? They're trying to...
You got Ricochet. You got Velveteen... What, you're not going to cheer for Ricochet?
I mean, he's good, but
he's fucking great. Future WWE champion Ricochet.
205 Live. Anyway, it's not... But he's nowhere near Johnny Gargano over.
Oh, no, I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about, is Johnny Gargano was that face you had because of the Ciampa heel turn. So why the fuck would he turn? Why would he attack Aleister?
Somebody on Twitter said, this was one of those complaints that people on Twitter have, but this was one that I actually thought was, had some merit to it. He said, you know what? You fucked up one of the most over baby faces that NXT ever had in Sami Zayn, and you basically did nothing with that guy. And now you've got lightning in a bottle again with Johnny Gargano, and you're going to fuck that up and turn him heel. What are you doing?
I don't understand that. I mean, why? It made no sense. I know there's a storyline sense for why he did what he did, but I'm looking from a fan standpoint, and it really just does not make sense that you would take someone that can carry your company for up until they're ready to put him on the main fucking roster, and you turn him heel. Because Aleister Black has not, great worker, fucking phenomenal worker.
Oh shit,
but there is no way he has any tenth of the charisma that Johnny Gargano had.
No, he doesn't. And
using him to turn Johnny is not going to get Aleister more over. So this really hurts Gargano, because now he's heel and no one's gonna really give a shit anymore. It doesn't, it's just bad all the way around, because this is supposed to lift. Like when Ciampa turned, it lifted Gargano up, and then it lifted Ciampa up.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say, and I agree, NoFX fan, Johnny Gargano's a younger Daniel Bryan, and that the fans were so behind him. Here's the thing, I don't think that anybody looked at, I won't say anybody, I don't think a lot of people looked at Johnny Gargano as a particularly, I don't know that folks necessarily would have put him up at the top in terms of NXT guys as far as his charisma. I mean, his in-ring work was always really good. He was a charismatic guy, I'll give you that. But I just don't think it wasn't until the whole storyline with Ciampa happened that it really elevated him, really shot him into the stratosphere, like you said. And the only reason I
won't say it's that. It was before Ciampa turned. Yes, the Ciampa turn happened, but then you got to remember, Ciampa was gone, so no one gave a fuck because he was there, out of sight, out of mind. And then Johnny was doing the whole losing streak thing, but fans were, this is prime important about when you can get more over by losing than you can by winning. And he was losing big match after big match after big match. He started doing the self-doubt thing where he didn't think he had it in him to win the big one till he finally won the big one. And then he had that amazing match with Almas. Then Ciampa comes back.
Right.
And now we've got, but he did that on his own without Ciampa.
See,
by the time Ciampa came back, you kind of forgot about, you knew the heel turn and you knew eventually Ciampa was coming back. But that's the one thing I think I mentioned on the show is that I felt like if they were going to bring Ciampa back that show, they should have brought him back in a way that cost him the title, not wait till after he legitimately lost that match. And you can see both sides of the fence because that was such an amazing fucking match that you didn't want to ruin it by having it in some bullshit DQ finish.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's about the story. So yes, the match it still would have been great, but maybe not looked on as fondly if they had that bullshit finish with Ciampa running in. But I guarantee you, it would have pushed them all up.
The only reason I disagree with you is because I think that if
you're wrong.
It's not because I'm wrong.
It's always that.
It's never that. It's because if Ciampa had just left because he was injured and not turned on Gargano, and Gargano goes through the same road and has the same matches and so on and so forth, I think Gargano establishes himself as a legitimate star. I don't think he gets anywhere close to where he is right now, if not for what happened with Ciampa. I think that's. I mean,
and where I disagree with you is that happened so long ago, from the time Ciampa turned till the time he actually came back and did what I would say is the official turn, where he beat him up and was able to interact, because he beat him up and then he left.
Yeah, but fans They remember that shit. That's why Daniel Bryan's still so crazy popular. What the fuck has Daniel Bryan done since he's come back?
Nothing.
Aside from the fact that he came back, which is pretty miraculous in and of itself. Yeah. So I give him mad props for that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not shitting on Daniel Bryan here. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, it seems like that guy's going to be over for life just based on the whole Yes movement and WrestleMania 30. And pretty much anything he does from here on out is fucking gravy because the fans absolutely love him as a result. I kind of feel like it's the same thing with Johnny Gargano.
I think that's apples and oranges. You cannot compare the two situations. You're comparing, like, if Gargano had left,
if one event hadn't happened, if the Yes movement thing and Bryan having his ultimate moment at WrestleMania 30 hadn't happened, I don't think he if he comes back now, he's nearly as big a deal as he was as a result of that. And I think that moment in time right there cements him in history as a guy that's going to be permanently over with the fans.
The motherfucker was permanently over when he occupied Raw.
Okay, you can take that moment. Whatever you.
But so he was that. That proves, like, your point is.
Oh, your candy ass!
Sorry, I accidentally.
But
hit the thing
that makes your point irrelevant because that wasn't his breakout moment. It wasn't WrestleMania 30. It was way before WrestleMania 30.
The point being, and again,
this is where he changes it.
No, we're splitting hairs here because the actual moment where Johnny Gargano got over with the fans forever wasn't just when Ciampa turned on him. It was all the shit that happened after that as well. I mean, there are other things that happened that got him to that point as well. But the
I
overall...
would argue that if Ciampa had not attacked him and he just went away, and you could have done the heel turn on the comeback, but had he... And they still did the same story of Johnny Gargano almost winning, starting to doubt himself with talking to his wife. You still keep all of that and have that match they had with Almas.
And you still think he's as over as he is if Ciampa hadn't turned on him?
Yeah.
I don't think so. But that's okay. This show wouldn't be any fun if we agreed all the time.
Yeah. And you're wrong, though. So.
No, well, that's like your opinion, man. So anyway, let's get to our boy Mac Diesel, who's been waiting patiently on the phone line while we argue about shit that, doesn't really matter. I mean, it matters because...
Hey, guys.
So he wants to be right. What's going on, Mac Diesel? How are you, sir?
Oh, I was sitting here enjoying your friendly disagreement.
Of course, as most people do.
It was actually compelling radio, but what caused me to call in the first place was earlier you said Ricochet was the future champion of WWE, and Silky said, possibly jokingly,
not jokingly,
the champion of 205 Live, maybe.
Yeah.
So...
That's why you can't take Silky seriously.
Basically, my question was...
Yes, sir.
My question was, do you feel that guys 205 and under can successfully carry the World Heavyweight Championship?
If booked right, yes. I mean, that's a booking. Because you need booking. Like, someone like my size, I'm 6'3", 275. I can legitimately, you look at me, you'd be like, he's a heavyweight. I get that. You know, no matter what, you'll see my moves or whatever. You can, it makes sense. You can wrap your head around it. But when you have such a small guy, and then we want us to believe that he is the best out of everybody, so you need that strong booking of, you know, him coming up through fighting the guys, the David versus Goliath almost.
Right.
Like without that, no. If you don't have that right booking, no, there's no way to Ricochet, to me, would be a legitimate WWE World Champion.
I think just because he's such a phenomenal athlete, I'm going to make a comparison. It's not exactly right on.
It's probably going to be a terrible comparison.
It's not going to be a terrible comparison.
Horrible.
When you talk about a guy like Rey Mysterio, there wasn't really anybody in WWE doing what Rey Mysterio was doing.
Every fucking cruiserweight.
No, come on.
Every fucking cruiserweight.
No, come on.
Oh, wait, when you say like in the ring, or you're talking about just beating the bigger guys?
No, I'm talking about in the ring.
Every fucking cruiserweight.
No, come on.
Look at Halloween Havoc. Him versus Malenko. Look at him versus Eddie Guerrero. Him versus Juice and Thunder Liger.
You cannot tell me that Dean Malenko. Sorry, Mac Diesel. We're gonna get sidetracked here for a moment. You cannot tell me that Dean Malenko has the same skill set as Rey Mysterio.
He probably has it better because he's more technical, and that's what I gravitate to.
Okay, well that's fine.
Okay, I'll take Dean Malenko out. What about Juventud Guerrera, Psychosis, Kidman? They all in the same. Hell, you can throw fucking Blitzkrieg in there if you want to.
They're in the same vein, but in terms of doing what they're doing and doing it as a smaller guy that's going out there against the bigger guys and doing everything that he does.
Fucking stupid,
no,
man.
Silky, you're talking out of your ass. What are you talking about?
Every fucking cruiserweight
does
that.
When did Juventud Guerrero go in and start whooping ass against all the big names in WWE and make a huge name for himself?
But you're not
fucking never. But exactly,
wait,
never is what he happened.
Hey, Matt. Let me ask you a question. Did you hear me ask him, are you talking about in ring, like versus the bigger guys, or just moves he does? And he said moves he does, right? Rey Mysterio doesn't do anything any other cruiserweight can't fucking do. Hell, matter of fact, nowadays, these guys are doing shit that Rey Mysterio probably would never dream of doing. So
you talk about stuff that guys can do versus stuff that guys consistently do that are a consistent part of their repertoire, that go out there and perform and have that.
But which one are you talking about, Chris?
The point is, let's get to this, Mac Diesel. The point is, I compare.
The point is, without a storyline, I don't see someone like Ricochet being a legitimate world champion. Without the storyline, Daniel Bryan wouldn't have been looked at as a legitimate world champion.
And I agree with you there. And I would say that if you do something like with a guy like Rey Mysterio, where you have a unique kind of guy like that.
Unique that they have a whole division of motherfuckers that do
and
that.
I think Ricochet is on the same level. I think that, yeah, you can look at Ricochet's moves and say that somebody can do this and somebody can do that. You look at the way that he does it, you look at how he does it, you look at when he does it, and so on and so forth. I don't think there's anything Ricochet does that a guy like AJ Styles couldn't do. But AJ Styles doesn't do that shit all the time.
I do. AJ Styles is old compared to Ricochet. I don't see AJ Styles jumping, front flipping over the fucking top rope and landing on his feet.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, who's ever done that ever?
Ricochet, but I'm saying I don't see him doing something like that.
Mac Diesel, I gotta ask you.
I don't see him doing like a 630.
Did you ask this question because you legitimately wanted to know, or did you have a feeling that you were kind of throwing a grenade in the middle of the room and that we were going to start fighting with each other?
Would you believe me if I said both?
Yes.
That's a great answer. That's a great answer.
But, I mean, bottom line.
I really did just want to know your thoughts on it. I thought it would lead to a good conversation, and it did. But I just wanted to, last thing, and I'll jump off the line here. You guys are doing a tremendous job. I enjoy you guys' show, and I want to also give a shout-out to the Dr. Hughes show, because if he hadn't had you on his show, then I would have never been introduced to this. So shout-out to them as well. So you guys keep up the good work. Thanks.
Appreciate that, man. And yes, shout out to you, Dr. Hughes, as always. We appreciate that. And thank you, Mac Diesel, for the phone call, because he knows what's up nowadays.
Yeah, he does.
He knows how to needle us just enough to get us going.
I mean, but it doesn't hurt that you just make points that don't make any fucking sense.
You're completely out of your mind.
You're comparing two different things of like the moves. That's why I specifically asked you: are you talking about
if
moves
I
he does,
every item that came out of your mouth to the same high standard that you do with me, I would be obliterating you the whole show.
No, you wouldn't.
Absolutely,
there's
yes.
no way you know more than me. There's no way. First of all, but
the benchmark Silky Banes, everybody. What were you today at the beginning?
I was Nutella.
That's right. That's because I was
human jar mayonnaise.
Human jar of mayonnaise. Oh my goodness. Well, folks, we're winding down here. We appreciate the time, having fun as always. Thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, we've got the Evolution pay-per-view coming up on Sunday, so that means on Monday we'll be back with a brand new edition of Smart Tears here on the program. So make sure that you tune in for that.
And I'm pretty sure.
Well, little Negrodamus moment here.
Negrodamus moment. There is going to be a tweet from the Speez and Benchmark account, that's done by him, bitching about Stephanie McMahon being on this TV.
Oh, for sure. That's coming. I mean, everybody knows that. Once again, thank you for the Super Hearts gang. An insane Super Heart haul tonight that's going to get us, man, I think we're 1 or 2 shows away.
Yeah, I think so.
From getting into the super broadcasting category here on
we're at 15,000 for this show.
Man, so absolutely amazing. Awesome. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for that. Thank you to all of you who joined us over on the YouTubes as well. We appreciate you guys being here. If you are watching this after the fact, we hope you'll consider hitting that like button and maybe leaving us a comment wherever you happen to be watching the show. And again, don't forget about the tip jar, tinyurl.com/SB tip jar. So, anything else to get out before we let everybody go this evening?
November 3rd, Hades Elks Lodge. I'm back at it. Wrestling for DZW Wrestling or DZW Katie. And also, Chris is completely fucking wrong because Rey Mysterio doesn't do anything any other fucking cruiserweight can do.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
cut to the end of the show.
Yeah, exactly. For the Benchmark, Silky Banes.
Yo.
Chris Speezak here. Thank you so much for joining us. Speez and the Benchmark Show. We'll see you Monday night after Raw. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you then.